Notice of this meeting was provided and published in the Asbury Park Press on January 6, 2014. Copies of the agenda were provided to the newspapers, posted on public bulletin boards and the Township website.
Thank you. At this time, everyone, please turn off your cell phones and roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Here.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Here.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Here.
Councilman Mumolo.
Here.
Councilwoman Pontarero.
Here.
Vice President Fosman.
Here.
President Leidecker.
Here. Thank you. Can everyone please stand for our salute to the flag, for the Pledge of Allegiance, and our moment of silence? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a very special occasion this evening for a presentation. As you all know, we had an election last Tuesday, and I am happy to announce that our very own Councilwoman, Andrea Zapsik, did win the election, and tonight we will be swearing her in. Our Township Attorney, Kevin Starkey, will be doing the honors.
My pleasure, Council President. Thank you. Council President, we have Councilwoman Zapsik's son.
Absolutely.
To hold the Bible. Councilwoman Zapsik, left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, please. There you go. That's the right.
The other way.
Okay, please repeat after me. I, Andrea Zapsik,
I, Andrea Zapsik,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of office of Councilwoman of the Township of Brick,
of office of Councilwoman of the Township of Brick,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
and that I solemnly swear
and that I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same,
and
to the governments established in the United States
to the governments established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Under the authority of the people, I am so very grateful to be standing in front of you this evening. First, I would like to thank Mr. Starkey for swearing me in, for standing in for not one mayor, but two. Mayor Samson Steinman from the city of Rahway was supposed to be here this evening. He had an emergency late in the day that kept him in Union County. I am also deeply indebted to Mayor Ducey and the members of this council for their help, encouragement, and support throughout this past year, and their continued confidence in me to do this job. I owe my family, ably represented by my son, more than I can say. They picked up the slack and always made sure I had a safe place to land. My extended family and friends who managed to be there at just the right time with just the right words, and everyone who supported me in ways large and small. You are all my heroes. But what I really want to speak to tonight is the residents of Brick Township. Thank you for welcoming me into your neighborhoods, for taking the time to speak to me and share your thoughts on our community, and for allowing me a glimpse into the many identities that make up one Brick Township. The quiet solitude of Forge Pond, the cozy neighborliness of Eagle Point and Venata Woods that almost harkens back to decades long ago, and the fierce post-Sandy camaraderie of Mallard Point, where they gather on the beach every year to remember that they survived. I am very grateful for these and everyone I met over the last several months, and for the opportunity to serve Brick Township for another year as your councilwoman. Thank you.
Okay, that's very exciting. Thank you very much. That was a lovely speech, but we do need to move on to the rest of the agenda, and we need to accept and file the clerk's reports.
I'll file those, thank you.
Thank you. And I need a motion and second to approve the minutes of the October 21st, 2014
I make a
meeting.
motion.
Second.
Motion made by Council Vice President Fosman, seconded by Councilwoman Pontorero. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes, thank you. And we do have one other presentation this evening for Alzheimer's Association of New Jersey. Is Debbie Warburton here this evening? Would you like to come on up? And I believe Deb Welty is here as well. Deb Welty is our Director of Brick Outreach for our Senior Services Program. And Ms. Warburton is the Coordinator of our Public Policy, Advocacy, and Volunteer Program. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank everyone for coming this evening, and also, the reason why we're doing this tonight, having a small vigil, is just to raise the awareness that Alzheimer's disease is out there, and that it does, in fact, hurt people. 1 in every 8 after age 65, 1 in every 8 of us. So we just want to raise awareness for that. She's the expert.
Well, I just want to give you a couple of facts on Alzheimer's that a lot of people don't know. Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in the country. People don't think of it as a cause of death, but it really is. And it's the only one of the top 10 causes of death that does not yet have an effective cure or treatment. It's estimated that approximately 5 million people in the country, individuals in the country, have the diagnosis of Alzheimer's or related dementia. And here in New Jersey, there are approximately 500,000 people who are affected by the disease, counting the individuals with the diagnosis and their caregivers, who also are very important. So these are just some things to think about. I appreciate everybody taking a moment this evening to be aware, and I would encourage you to continue the fight and continue to let your elected representatives on all levels know that Alzheimer's is important to you, and that we need to do something about it.
We just wanted to have a minute where the lights were dimmed, and we could just process this. So that some of them a moment. Just raise your light. Thank you. Thank you.
Before you try to escape, Debbie, you can come right up back here for a moment. I'm so honored to be able to issue our proclamation and resolution to the Alzheimer's Awareness Group. My grandfather was afflicted by Alzheimer's at a very early age. My father is in the early stages of Alzheimer's. I can tell you that this disease robs you of memories, robs you of the life that you had before. I have never understood how people can get through having a family member with this disease until I had and was called to do it. the more that we understand about Alzheimer's awareness, the better that we'll be able to treat it. There's research going on constantly, but we need to be cognizant of the caregivers of these people with Alzheimer's who devote themselves and care for these individuals, because these are people, like I said, who have been robbed of memories. Imagine if you couldn't remember who your daughter was, or granddaughter was, or grandbaby is. Those are the things that people with Alzheimer's have to deal with. And there are moments when they're cognizant of what they've lost, which is the most painful part. So with that, on behalf of Mayor John G. Ducey, I'm going to issue this proclamation for National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month of November 2014. Whereas the month of November is National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month and National Family Caregivers Month, whereas more than 5 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's disease, and almost 2/3 of those living with the disease are women, and whereas every 67 seconds someone in the United States develops Alzheimer's disease, and whereas Alzheimer's disease is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, with approximately 500,000 people dying each year as a result of Alzheimer's disease. And whereas 1 in 3 older adults dies of Alzheimer's or another dementia-related affliction, and whereas in 2013, 15.5 million caregivers provided an estimated 17.7 billion hours of unpaid care valued at $220 billion. Now, therefore, I, in the place of John G. Ducey, Mayor of the Township of Brick in the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, in recognition of Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month and National Family Caregivers Month, proclaim November to be National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month. And I give this to you, Ms. Warburton, with heartfelt appreciation for all that your organization does. There's not enough ways to thank you. So, thank you. I thank you, Council and Township of Brick, for remembering us. And as you say, it's truly the caregivers who should be commemorated. Alzheimer's caregivers are usually in the people who are caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's tend to be in that role longer than people caring for any other condition, because Alzheimer's is such a long disease. And it's truly the caregivers who deserve our support and our thanks and every good thing that we can wish and do for them. So thank you. You're not done yet. On behalf of the council, we're issuing a resolution. Whereas the month of November is National Alzheimer's Awareness Month and National Family Caregivers Month, and whereas more than 5 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's disease, and almost 2/3 of those living with the disease are women, whereas every 67 seconds someone in the United States develops Alzheimer's disease, whereas Alzheimer's disease is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, with approximately 500,000 people dying each year as a result of Alzheimer's disease, where 1 in 3 older adults dies of Alzheimer's disease or another dementia-related affliction. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, as follows. We join, all of us join, Mayor Ducey in calling on an increased awareness and understanding of Alzheimer's disease and other dementia-related afflictions. We urge all residents to learn about Alzheimer's disease and to lend support to those living with the disease and their caregivers. And this is on behalf of the council. Thank you once again. Thank you once again to the council and to the mayor. And if I can encourage you to do just 2 things in this month of Alzheimer's awareness, I would encourage you to do something nice for a caregiver, lighten their load a little bit, and once again, let your elected representatives know that Alzheimer's is important to you, and it's important to do something about it. And I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the efforts of Deb Welty, who I know feels exceedingly uncomfortable right in front of the podium, but As the Director of Senior Services, she has gone above and beyond in coordinating events that focus on Alzheimer's disease, bringing Alzheimer's awareness to Brick, and she should be acknowledged for all of her hard work. Thank you so much. And thank you guys.
Thank you, that was a very nice ceremony. Okay, moving on to our consent agenda. Thank you, Joanne. All matters listed under item consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. If discussion is desired on any item, this item will be removed from the agenda and it will be considered separately. Are there any items that we wish to remove? Okay, seeing none. Resolution 1, authorize Alzheimer's Month. Thank you again, ladies, for joining us. We do appreciate it. Resolution 2, recognize World Prematurity Day, which is on November 17th. It's the 4th annual World Prematurity Day, a global movement to raise awareness about premature birth. There's about 15 million babies around the world that are born premature each year, and 1 million of them do not survive. We spend in the United States about $26 billion annually on this very issue, and although we've seen consecutive years of sustained improvement in the premature birth rate, we still have one of the highest premature birth rates of any industrialized nation. So through the efforts of March of Dimes and other organizations, New Jersey has lowered our premature birth rate to 11.2% in 2013, representing a reduction of over 11,000 premature babies annually in our state. As a council, we urge all residents to help raise awareness about prematurity by highlighting the burden of preterm birth, informing on simple, proven, cost-effective solutions, and invoking compassion for families who have experienced the preterm birth. Resolution 3, authorize budget appropriation transfers. This is where maybe a few accounts are a little underfunded and a few are overfunded, so we just switch the money between the accounts. Today, it is in the amount of $524,000. Does council have any questions on this? Number 4, authorize Chapter 159, Safe and Secure Communities Grant 2014. We are approving an insertion of $60,000 into the 2014 budget, which is available from the State of New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety for the Safe and Secure Communities Grant. Number 5, authorize receipt of proposals for animal control officer services. Joanne, could you speak a little to this resolution, please?
Certainly. Our contract is set to expire with Jersey Shore Animal Shelter at the end of the year. We spend about $250,000 a year on shelter and animal control officer services. So in an effort to be sure we are getting the most competitive pricing and availability of services, we're going to go out to bid for the animal control officer piece and do some cost comparisons and service comparison and see if we can optimize, provide the services that we are required to provide and do so in a more cost-efficient way.
Thank you very much. Number 6, authorize purchase of proprietary goods of services for police pursuit vehicles. We are going out to bid for 7 of the 2014 or newer Dodge Charger police pursuit vehicles. We did have quite a few vehicles damaged during Sandy, and then of course you have to change out the vehicles on a rotating basis because they do have extreme wear and tear on it. So we are going out to bid for that. Number 7 has been removed from the agenda for further review. Number 8, authorize HGAC buy for cardiac pumps. HGAC stands for the Houston Galveston Area Council. It's one of the co-ops that we joined as a council to get more attractive contract pricing for some items that we need to purchase. In this case, it is for 3 of the auto pulse system pass-through cardiac pumps in the amount of $43,916. Number 9, authorize HGAC buy, purchase, and delivery of 2 ambulances. Again, it's through the Houston Galveston Area Council. We do need to buy 2 Type 1 Ford F-350 4x2 ambulances that's available through this cooperative in the amount of $300,000. The NJPA contract has been awarded to PL Custom Body and Equipment Company. Resolution 10, authorize award of proposal, fair and open process, addition to the engineering pool. We are adding T&M Associates to this pool. They've been doing work for us at the Traders Cove site, and that work has continued into this year, but they can't have a PO on the books if they're not in the pool. So that's the reason why we're adding T&M to our engineering pool. Number 11, authorize award of proposal, fair and open process, addition to the attorney pool. The mayor recommended to add the firm of Goldenberg, Mackler, Segu, Mintz, Pfeiffer, Bonke, and Gill to the 2014 attorney pool. Number 12, authorize change order number 1 final, Whispering Pines roadway improvement project. Thankfully, this is a decrease in the contract by $26,956.26, and this is for the Earl Asphalt Company contract for the Whispering Pines roadway project. 13, authorize tax liens for property cleanups through Public Works. 91 Meridian Drive, $2,715.74. 581 Drum Point Road, $60.79. 62 Catalina Drive, $69.33. And 286 Hudson Drive, and $43.87. For those of you who don't know, I see a few new faces in the crowd this evening. When a property becomes in disrepair, sometimes for the sake of public safety, our township needs to go and remediate it, and that's why there's a lien going on the properties. Number 14, denying release of performance guarantee for Nobility Crest Phase 1. They posted a site guarantee bond to ensure certain site improvements were properly installed without defects. When the township engineer went out to inspect the site, it was determined that there were multiple remaining improvements to be installed. In a report from CME Associates dated on October 7th. And I'm just going to read the paragraph that is in deficiency. Number 1, the inability to conduct a required inspection of the installed stormwater piping and structures due to the presence of SESC protection measures all around the inlets and structures. 2, concerns regarding ongoing utility connections to the water, sewer, gas, and other underground work in close proximity to the completed storm system components. Number 3, incomplete as-built drawings submitted to the township engineer. Number 4, lack of written certification from the Ocean County Engineers Office approving all bonded improvements located within Ocean County. For these reasons, we have to deny the release of the bond. Number 15, we're denying the release of the performance guarantee for Nobility Crest Phase 2 for all the reasons listed previously. 16, denying the release of performance guarantee for Nobility Crest Phase 3 for all the reasons noted previously. Number 17, performance bond release, Hess Corporation. Hess had posted a Hartford Fire Insurance Company subsurant division bond in the amount of $453,923.37 and a cash performance bond in the amount of $50,435.04. Their improvements are complete and we can return the money. B, inspection fund release for M. Kogan Consulting. There's a $745.92 remaining in the engineering inspection bond, and the improvements have been completed and acceptable. C, inspection fund release, HV Coffee LLC. There's $786.29 remaining in the engineering inspection fund, and their improvements have been completed and accepted. D, inspection fund release, Kevin McDonald, in the amount of $762.10 in the engineering inspection fund. Improvements have been completed and acceptable. And lastly, E, inspection fund release, Barrage Inc., for the amount of $3,971.29 in the inspection fund. And again, the improvements have been completed and acceptable. Resolution 18, Tax Collector A, overpayment of taxes in the year 2014. The first one is 467 Eagle Pass for $1,304.15. The second one is 616 North Lake Shore Drive for $5,455.67. And lastly, 448 19th Avenue for $3,605.98. B, redemption of tax sales certificate for Winder, Edward, and Deborah, certificate number 2013-0201. Can I please have a motion and second for the end of our consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Seriously, guys? It's like you practiced this.
I'm second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Zapsik, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. And is there any questions from the council before we go to public? Seeing none, I'll open public for the resolutions for the consent agenda. No questions from the public on the consent agenda? I'll close public and ask for a roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Moving on to number 19, Bill Resolution, Computer 2014.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Computer bill resolution in the amount of $20,199,210.31.
Thank you. Motion and second, one at a time, please.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Pontorero, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. I will open to council for questions on the bill resolutions. Seeing none, I'll open to public.
Joy answered them. Thank you. Thank you, Joy.
Seeing no questions from the public on the Computer 2014 bill resolution, I'll close public and ask for roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Abstain on New Jersey press media, and yes to the rest.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Abstain on the MUA and yes to the rest.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Thank you. Number 20, Bill Resolution Manual 2014.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Manual bill resolution in the amount of $2,816,372.08.
Thank you. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Pontorero, seconded by Councilman Mumalo. Open to council for questions. Seeing none, open to public for questions. Okay, seeing none, I will ask for roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Abstain township payroll, yes to the rest?
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to ordinances on the first reading. There is no public comment for ordinances on the first reading, but we will give a brief description, and if you have questions, you can contact the Township Council office, and we will gladly get back to you for your questions. We also have public comment at the next council meeting. Ordinance number 1 on first reading, create Chapter 340, registration and maintenance of properties pending foreclosure.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, creating Chapter 340 of the Township Code entitled Registration and Maintenance of Properties Pending Foreclosure.
Thank you. The intent of this ordinance is to provide for the registration of a creditor of properties in foreclosure here in Brick, and to require foreclosing creditors to be responsible for the care, maintenance, security, and upkeep of the exterior of vacant and abandoned properties pending foreclosure. This ordinance is adopted in order to implement the provision of State Law PL 2014, Chapter 35. Motion and second, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilman Mumalo. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Ordinance number 2 on first reading, amend Chapter 393, special events.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 393 of the Township Code entitled Special Events.
Thank you. I'm just going to give you a basic overview of the changes that we're making to this existing ordinance. Any event that contains any of the following elements should be considered a special event that requires a permit. Multiple events taking place in a single venue, more than 50 people are expected to attend, and live music with amplified music. also added, it defines a block party. Block parties shall be exempt from the requirement to obtain a special event permit under this section unless the block party will have live entertainment with amplified music or will be open to the public at large. We made a small change in the fee schedule for the special event application. An application fee of $100 shall be submitted at the time of the special event when it is filed with our township clerk. For reoccurring events, the application fee shall be $250 for up to 4 special events in any 3-month period at a single location. If any recurring event issued a permit under this section expands or changes beyond the scope of the original application, requiring an additional review by the township, then an additional application fee may be charged to cover the cost of the additional reviews. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Pontorero, seconded by Vice President Fosman. Roll call, please.
Council President, I have a real quick question. For this, it says that the Board of Ed, the MUA, and the Housing Authority are exempt, but they still have to come in if they're having like a competition or anything like that. They still have to come in and get their permit, correct?
Yes, the exemption is from payment of the application fee, not from the requirements of the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are we set for roll call? Yes, thank you.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Moving on to my favorite section, public comments. Please note that each person addressing the council during any section of the meeting during which public comment is permitted shall limit his or her remarks to 5 minutes pursuant to Brick Township Administrative Code, Section 2-33B. If you are in the middle of a statement when your 5-minute ends, please finish the point that you are making. If you need more time, you are more than welcome to come up a second time once everyone else has had their first time at the microphone. Ms. Call.
Good evening, Ann Call, 18 Greenbrier Boulevard. I have comments to make, no questions. The first one has to do with, my neighbors all know that I am a registered Republican. In fact, I am my district's Republican County Committee woman. However, they all would have seen the sign in front of my house supporting the best person for the job. Sitting there collecting my thoughts on what I was going to say, I was going to make light and say 100 years ago. And unfortunately, what hit me is it's more than a half a century ago that the good sisters of St. Joseph and then the Sisters of Mercy taught me that you have the freedom to vote, which means you have an obligation to vote. And regardless of whether you register with a political party, your obligation means the best person for the job. And I'm so happy that in this case, the best person was a woman. So congratulations, Councilwoman Zapsik. Second item is I happened to go over to the Visitation Relief Center today to drop off a couple of items to donate. And in speaking to the people there, I was asked if I was aware of their Christmas tree fundraiser, which I wasn't, but I took some flyers to bring back to my community and an adjacent community. And I was going to also mention to the mayor, and I will give to somebody, that the paper for the Christmas tree fundraiser, it appears that what it is they will be selling live trees, I believe, from the wording. You can check it with them. You have an option of the height of a tree. There's several prices. And there is a place to check if you wish to have the tree donated to a family in need. It gives you the day that you would need to order it by based upon the day you wish to pick it up. So I'd like that to be passed around because we still have families in need. And Visitation Relief Center doesn't just concentrate on those in Brick, because we might say, well, we don't really have a lot of families in need on the Barrier Island, but there are lots that still are in need. Which leads me to my third comment. I am a commissioner with the Ocean County Commission on Individuals with Disabilities. And our meeting last Thursday, we had somebody talking to us about anyone who was Sandy affected. It doesn't apply to anyone else. And has need for either a new ramp because they had it before, or a ramp because they didn't. What they are doing is having modular ramps. Modular in the sense that if you move from that home, it can be brought to another home. Not that you would go taking it when you go visiting anybody. I have some of those. But it would be modular in that you can move it to another place. It's not steel or material like that. And they have grant money, and they are available if you've had to raise your home and therefore caused a need. So get in touch with, I'll give the information to the mayor. I didn't have time to do that part, but I will be in touch with him and see that the township gets the information on who is involved with doing that. I know her first name was Erica, but also at the Visitation Relief Center, there is a Sue Newski, whose name starts with a P-N-I-E-W-S-K-I, I believe. And she is in the Relief Center. I saw her there today, and she is the chair at the current time of the Commission on Individuals with Disabilities. In some cases, a ramp isn't going to work because of the requirements. And they are looking into vertical lifts. It's not an elevator, but they will be a vertical lift. And my last item is I'd like you all to join my 4-H club. Happy, 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 happy. Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's. I hope you all have a great one, and most especially, I know you will be giving thanks for your true election. Anybody want to take this?
Thank you. Yes, gentleman in the back?
Hi, my name is Ed Kushera. I live on Garden Avenue in Brick.
Can you bring that mic up higher for yourself so everybody can hear you?
My name is
Thank you.
Ed Kushera. I live on Garden Avenue in Brick. The streets in my neighborhood, when they built those houses originally, didn't have gas, and now they have natural gas. And there's a lot of potholes in the area where the gas lines were run. I would like to ask if the town could consider looking at that and possibly fill in some of the potholes in the area where the darker pavement obviously is from the gas. My second thing is a suggestion to the Department of Public Works. Either based on a monthly basis or maybe even by the year, when you have an odd numbered year or an even numbered year, on quiet streets, not on, maybe not in senior communities, but other areas, consider moving the garbage cans like on the odd side of the street or the even side of the street, depending upon the month or the year. And I think it would save a lot of time for the public works when they go down the street, especially on dead-end streets where they drive in, they pick up the garbage, and then they back out and then back into the same dead-end street to pick up the garbage. It would make sense to me that if you put all the garbage cans on the one side of the street, they could back in, pick it up, and leave, and it'd be a lot faster for them. I know no one on the town council. I have no relations with any public works. It just kind of makes sense to me. That's all I have.
Sir, could you give me the name of your street again, please?
Garden Avenue.
Thank you.
Can I answer him?
Sure.
One sec. We looked into one-sided street pickup, sir, but what happens is a lot of people don't like the can to be stuck outside their house. A neighbor's can, after you put your can in, people are funny that way, having their can in front of somebody's house. Now the can's left there, and now somebody else has got to park in front of that house. because you didn't take your can in, and now they can't park in front of their house. It creates a little problem like that. I understand, it is better.
I understand what you're saying, but you have towns like Point Pleasant and Point Pleasant Beach and many other similar towns with similar names, and they don't want to combine services. This is certainly a minor little thing. It's a little bit of an inconvenience, but it would save money, and it just makes sense to me.
I know, we already looked into it, and that was one of the big concerns, and
Okay,
you know, I just want to let you know, we did look into that.
okay.
All right?
Thank you. Mr. Slunka?
Okay, my letter. Mayor John Ducey, Council President Susan Linedecker, all council members of Brick Township. Now that the election is over and our nation's voters have shown that the politicians perform well, are rewarded, and those that underperform are relieved of their duties, we can move forward here in Brick to bring about the change that will possibly save many days of suffering and early death for our Brick residents. The hardship forced upon Brick residents due to the construction and destruction of the Garden State Parkway will not pass in time because the New Jersey Turnpike Authority and their cohorts destroyed miles upon miles of the natural barrier for Brick Township citizens. Every day, pollutants are driven into the lungs of our citizens in the area. Children face many years of asthmatic conditions, and senior citizens among us face massive lung impairments and premature deaths. The toxic compounds that befall our citizens included in the car and truck exhaust included such things as carbon monoxide, nitric oxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur oxides, and hydrocarbons, including the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. I've mentioned that before. Some of these compounds cause chronic irritation to the respiratory mucosa, such as the carcinogens shown in experimental animals when they do testing. Studies done by the American Cancer Society show how the compounds which damage the lungs of the people where they live. Exposure is highest where diesel traffic is heaviest, such as along major highways like the Garden State Parkway. The Turnpike Authority does not allow trucks north of exit 105 on the Garden State Parkway, in part because of the dangers to residents of these pollutants. But thousands of diesel exhaust trucks travel southbound through populated area, Monmouth, Ocean, and Atlantic counties. And the government here in Brick seems so far powerless to do anything about it. Let us go unheeded by the Turnpike Authority, and it seems top officials of the state and county government either care very little for the citizens or work for the will of the power brokers and the powerful people in the authority in places like that. Besides studies done by the American Cancer Society, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, the National Toxicology Program, and the EPA all suggest diesel exhaust is likely to be carcinogen in humans. Diesel exhaust is believed to play a major role in many health problems besides cancer, including asthma and other lung disease, heart disease, and possibly immune system problems. It seems no matter what our local government is told about the health risk, they seem to be impotent when it comes to trying to force this big government agency to do anything, even in considering the health problems that are associated with it. The Turnpike Authority's management tries to manipulate the well-defined health risk and tries to make it sound like the impact is a noise problem, which is far from, I mean, it is a noise problem, but it's a lot worse than that. The noise problem is a short-term impact. 2 to 3 years from now, maybe it won't be so bad, and 4 years from now, whatever it is. But we know that the truth, and someday, hopefully, they'll be accountable for their actions, jail time, stuff like that. Unfortunately, for thousands of Brick and Toms River residents, the damage will have already been done. Most lung damage is nearly irreversible, and each day that goes by, the harm builds into the lungs of our town's residents. The officials of the NJTA are killing Brick people, and they know it. And someday they will be held accountable, I'm sure. But their actions will be too late for the suffering citizenry. The abuse must end, and end now. A 20-foot wall, noise, or pollution and noise needs to be built. Trees, brushes need to be planted now, whether it's the township gets in there and starts doing something about it and forcing either the turnpike, because they have their own rules, and they say it's not our rule. But they also have a rule on the parkway, I don't know if anybody's been there lately, 45 miles an hour. Another vehicle overturned not too far away from Evergreen Woods yesterday. That thing hops the fence, killing kids. Again, this is like 4 accidents since last meeting, and this was another major accident. It's not that it's a fender bender. These cars are going 85 miles an hour. So obviously, they do what they want to do. We need to stop them now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard this evening? Okay, well, seeing none. Well, Mr. Cancel, come on up. They certainly are.
My name is James Cancel. I live in Maple Leaf Park. I came here tonight because I want to urge the council, committee, mayor, and chief of police to not make Maple Leaf Park the squeaky wheel that gets the oil. I've heard it said twice from council and officials. We need more than that. We don't need oil because we squeak and then, oh, okay, now let's move on to something else. This is a blight on this town. This town was twice regaled the safest city to live in America. Now, where are we? We are 6th in heroin use rank. 6th. Now, I want to ask the council, has anybody delved into that as to why? I'm asking you plainly.
Of course we have, Mr. Cancel.
Okay, thank you. Have you made any connections? What's going on with that? Because I got a feeling Maple Leaf's a major player in it. Because we already know that there's numerous drug investigations going on there. So I watched this today as the hand, and I bless God for you were sworn in on the Bible. So obviously it must mean something. You know what the book of Sirach, chapter 7 says? It says, don't seek to be a judge unless you have the strength to root out crime, lest you side with the ruler and mar your integrity. See, there's a lot of things out there that want to mar your integrity for what's going on at Maple. A lot of things can distract you, or I keep hearing constitutional law. I get the constitutional law, but we need something that's cutting edge, yet works through constitutional law. I looked up code enforcement cases. I was actually wrong about Camara versus San Francisco. 5-4 decision, they overruled warrantless searches. But Frank versus Maryland, they did. They did approve searchless warrant. But the judge said something. He said, one of the judges said, you know, Constitution doesn't guarantee the people the right to commit crimes in their house. And that's exactly what we got in Maple Leaf and other places. But I'm telling you, if you start at Maple Leaf, it's a several block area. Has anybody, do you really, I'm asking, do you understand what's going on at Maple Leaf? Do you understand the ins and outs of it? Because it's really fixable. And it's a several block area if you will concentrate with code enforcement, police tactics. We need integration now. Here's what happens. And here's what's actually hurting our community in Maple Leaf. The police come after, I read in 332 Sawmill Drive. The police did a 2-month investigation. They came in, knocked the door down, SWAT team comes, guns, ammo, everything. Boom, take that guy out. I see the same white Lexus there today. That had been going on a very long time. That man had been there a very long time. In September, they did the same thing to my next door, my neighbor, who the man is very dear to me. He's a good man, his son. Same thing. People are looking at this and they're getting stigmatized when they see, wow, holy cow, how bad can it be? But if there was an ordinance, if we had certain ordinances where you got in touch with the landlord and said, I've got a city that has done this, a padlock ordinance. If you got in touch with them and you told them you're under investigation, if the council was approved of the situation, and yeah, you might not have to do that. There came a day in New York now, the police are having going around with heroin overdose kits. Plunge it in the heart. More cost, more training, more money. They probably don't want to do it to some addict. It may come to that here. But why should it if we're proactive, if we're careful, if we think ahead? You know, the Bible says a good name is to be chosen above riches. You can bring Boeing in here, get a whole bunch of jobs. But you know what that'll do? That drug market, that drug, whatever beast is out there, they'll look at that and they'll increase their own market. Brick can be defended. You can set up a border right here in Brick. You have to do it. If you don't, you can have a policy of containment. Sure, you can do that. But you know what? It's not just Maple Leaf now. I didn't realize Windcrest residents their lives were adversely affected, as some of you at the meeting heard. Men sitting there hoping their daughter comes home. People not wanting to go to Krausers. It's ridiculous. And I got to say, I'm just a simple printer. I get up in the morning, I could fix this. I could fix this. I hope you do.
Thank you. Yes,
Madam
sir?
President, may I address
Please.
Mr. Cancel's comments?
Yes, please.
Mr. Cancel, and you were at the meeting that we held where we heard from people from Windcrest as well as yourself. I want you to be assured now, I understand that the issues regarding Maple Leaf were first broached to the council back in 2009. As of the meeting where you raised this as an issue, we have been working intensely to try to remedy the problem, not just in the short term, but in the long term. Not just for Maple Leaf, but for all of Brick. I can tell you our chief of police is working very diligently to contain all heroin-related crimes, as you can see in the most recent drug bust that's happening. We're working with the mayor of Glassboro about the programs that he spoke to us about at the meeting. We're looking at ordinances and working with our township attorney to see what ordinances we can implement that will curtail these problems. We're increasing our mentoring programs with our youth, giving more face time to our youth so that they can see that there are other role models out there besides what they see. So this whole process, and we have another public safety meeting coming up, this whole process is not going to be something that's a quick fix, because as the chief of police of Glassboro said, you have to change the culture of the area. It's not just making the changes and the arrests, but changing the culture. So I assure you that the entire council has been very alarmed by what we've heard, have been diligently working to fix it. And all I can tell you is, at this point, it's only been 2 months, and we have a lot of really great ideas floating around that have to be solidified, that have to be approved by our township attorney in order to implement. But you will see change. You will see change. Thank you.
Sir? Thank you for the update, Councilwoman. We do appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for your tenacity on this matter, and I really mean that. First of all, congratulations, Councilwoman, for your election. Probably one of the most difficult jobs in politics in the state of New Jersey is councilperson.
Sir, we do need your name for the
Oh,
record.
excuse me,
I'm sorry.
Jerry DeSico.
Thank you.
And one last thing also, on the Alzheimer's Association New Jersey, you got Walking Angels on Earth, so that was a wonderful recognition that was done today. Congratulations. On October 21st, council meeting here, you heard about the criminal element and different issues regarding Maple Leaf and the deteriorating quality of life, decreasing property values of the entire section, and it's going to affect the rest of the town as well. You also heard two very stark, different points of view. You heard from, at polar opposite points of view. You heard from two individuals on this side, and they remind me of the old Batman series from the mid-'60s with Adam West and Burt Ward, and they used to have these guest villains every week. These two individuals, what came out of their mouth, I almost wanted to jump out of my seat at the end, but you guys didn't want to hear from me a second time. Very devious, very diabolical, very dishonest, very duplicitous. It was really a thing to see, to tell you the truth. For example, the president owns 3 units by his own admission. He's a slumlord by his own admission. The property manager, he manages another place in Lakewood. And the landscaping and all the different quality of life issues, he's failed. Take a look at Herbertsville Road, from one end to Herbertsville Road to the next end of Herbertsville Road. It looks like the Farmingdale Flea Market. There's nothing done on his part. And they would have everybody believe that it's a sandals resort. Also, these two individuals, I tell you, I don't know if they act as real estate agents, they're brokers, are they recruiters? Are they pawns for these outside entities that have come in and invaded that particular area? So the time is crucial. I do know that the Public Safety Board is committed to this. We get that vibe, and we're glad that we had that meeting on the 30th in this very room with the mayor, Public Safety Committee, chief. So we're glad that this is a continuous dialogue. But I think the Brick Council needs to take the lead in possibly looking at this board. How can you have a board that's got 3 people on it, and there's 350 units there? There's something wrong with that picture. How can you allow to have one owner have 18 units, and then he turns around and he converts himself into an LLC? Something's wrong with that. Perhaps maybe that the association needs to be looked at, have their books opened, and let's look at their real estate transactions over the last 8 years since these guys have been running the show and steering the ship, or sinking the ship, I should say. So how legitimate is that board? Not very legitimate. Certain portions of that area is a keg of dynamite, and those two guys are holding a match. So if I can make any suggestions, I know we wanted to get together again in 6 weeks. I think that's great, and hopefully we can do it before Christmas. But there are a couple of things that specifically we would like to see perhaps get addressed by that next point. One, you spoke about the code enforcement issues. I know that's a research project, so and I understand that that's a little bit more legalities involved. Maybe we could see where we're at that point down the road. Number 2, quite frankly, we don't have very much confidence in the code enforcement official. Nice guy. I could sit and have a cup of coffee with the guy, but come on, he needs to go to see the wizard and get some confidence, because every time you ask this guy a question about specific enforcements, the finger gets pointed to the board. And we all know that that's the easy, cheap way out, because the board is illegitimate. You can't point the fingers to the board. Next, the security measures. I know one of the councilmen up here was very, very enthused about the idea of putting gates at both entrances on Herbertsville and the Waynes Mill section. That would be fantastic. How about looking at that? What type of security measures have been done at the next point that we get together? So these are things that hopefully we could get to the point and have some type of progress. And you're not out there alone. There's going to be, you got a cavalry behind you, so we're all going to do this together. Finally, somebody brought up, I think it was you, Councilwoman, who said we had a guest speaker at the October 30th meeting in this particular room. And he was, I just met him that night, and he wasn't here to step on anybody's shoes, but he was trying to make aware Brick Township of a program that exists called the Crime-Free Multi-Housing Program. It's very important, and I'm going to go a few seconds over if I may. This crime-free housing, multi-housing program keeps illegal activities off rental properties. Very successful. They operate out of about 2,000 cities in the country, 48 states. Started in Mesa, Arizona, and there's different segments to this particular program. And it does involve the cooperation of, unfortunately, of the current board that's in place, but and also involves a little investment in some money. But I do believe that this particular crime-free housing program that has a couple of different phases to it, I think it's really something that could be possibly looked at sooner rather than later. And a lot of components in these phases seem to be worthwhile. So we hope that we could do that. And finally, we all know that, and I'm very adamant about this, police and teachers are the pillars of any community. And we're lucky that we have good teachers and good police in this community. Unfortunately, its foundation's cracking just a little bit because of a certain element. So if we could get a grip on that element and we could ship them out, I think we'll all be in good shape. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes,
May I
ma'am.
just briefly address it? Okay. I thank you again for speaking out tonight, and it's important that our residents that are affected by the crime spree that's been going on do show their faces and show that they care. What I can promise you is our chief of police has been diligently working on, it wasn't just one program that the chief of police of Glassboro was speaking of, it was two. And I know that he's been looking into it and working diligently to see if it's a good fit for our community, so I can tell you that is happening. In terms of your suggestions for the next meeting, I think they're all great suggestions. Understand this, transparency is the key. We are not going to tell you something that we can't do. We're going to tell you what we can do. And sometimes our limitations are governed by laws and bylaws of certain communities. So we promise we are always going to be very straight with our residents and make sure that everybody is on the same page. But I know the chief has been in contact with the chief of Glassboro, and that program sounds wonderful. Both programs sound absolutely wonderful, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Yes, sir?
How you doing tonight? Brian Decker is my name, 378 Birch Drive. And along with the topic of Maple Leaf and stuff, suggestion, do you know those, the cameras that were on the street corners, things like that? What are they being used for? Nothing right now, or are they?
They don't belong to
They're not
us.
They don't belong to us at all?
No.
Okay. Because, I mean, I've seen many friends of mine go through that neighborhood and get beat up and things like that. I was just suggesting maybe posting cameras on each of those buildings, you know, to have just surveillance of the place.
Your cameras, your surveillance cameras are broken right now
Supposedly their cameras are
Yeah,
there.
and been broken for months.
for 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have cameras on
Now, is that
location.
an out-of-source?
They have like over, I believe, over 20 cameras throughout
Okay,
the
is that an
throughout the properties, but
out-of-source?
it was brought to our attention that the cameras are not working. So that was one of our concerns, those cameras should be working, number
Alright.
one. But,
Alright,
no,
that's-
we're on.
Okay,
that's
I
one
was
of our
just, like I
issues.
said, because they brought up very good points about the place, and it is, you know, becoming worse and worse, so. But, thank you.
Thank
Oh, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Yes.
Stephen Cancel, Sawmill Road. Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Cancel's son, and I just want to kind of go off of what he was saying, just kind of continue that. I have two brothers. I have one that is, you know, an addict, and he started this habit in Maple Leaf, and I mean, it's so the problem is, you know, it was internal. As far as, you know, I've been through things. I've had to make decisions. I've had to, and I've never done drugs, just for the record. But I have another brother who is in the Marines currently. He's got back from Japan. But I always, my youngest, 7 years younger than me, I always had it in my mind for him to come and be like, my parents are divorced, to come live with me. And he wouldn't do it though. He wouldn't come. He said, I really want to come to Maple Leaf. And some of that has to do with, you know, again, the drug use in the family. But I just want to be real and be honest about that, because it's a problem. If this was the Wild West, me and a couple Marine friends of mine, we would have just swept through the community ourselves, and we would have cleaned it out. But it's not that way. And as Christians, you don't do that. And we're a nation of laws, and this is a you know, it's a good town, and there's a lot of good people, and it doesn't have to come to that. But I think what my dad is really, I know what he's trying to get across is it's bigger than cleaning up a community. You're sending a message, but when I was stationed in San Diego on the I-5, I was stationed about 30 miles from the Mexican border, Camp Pendleton, and there would be this is disgusting, but it's the truth. There would be human heads from decapitated from cartel gang assassinations from the drug trade thrown out onto the highway. There would be bodies dug up. Marines were forbidden to go to Tijuana during certain parts of the season because of the cartel wars that were going on. I just want you to understand the menace of what I've seen. Again, I've seen what drugs do. I've never done them, but I've seen the cost. I've seen the cost to money-wise, physically, emotionally, spiritually, to the community. Maple Leaf's an example of that. And if you don't put pressure, you got to be able to stare down what this thing really is. Again, there's on the border of Mexico, there's people getting killed all the time to bring this product up through the country. You're not going to scare this thing off with by deferring it to any, by putting it off to for someone else to fix, or to rely on the police. The police are taxed as it is, and it's not fair to them. I'm thankful that we do have good cops in Brick, and I know the police chief is working on this. But it's not fair to them to have to deal with something by themselves. What my dad is saying, it saves the manpower, it saves the money to have a collective understanding of what type of menace this thing really is, where it comes from. And I want to, real quick, smash a myth that I keep hearing from certain, no one here, but that that dealers, that someone who's dealing drugs they're making a mistake. They had no other way. They need to provide for their families. You have to get the dealer, because it's where the producer and the user. The dealer is the linchpin. It's where they meet. If you get the dealer, which Maple Leaf is a hub for dealers, the door falls off the hinge. You can only build so many rehabs before you run out of money. You can only send so many people south of the border to attack the farming and manufacture the drug. But where you can hit it is at the dealer level, and that's where Brick has become, and that's what Ocean County has become, sadly. And it doesn't take. The guy seems pretty cool, but it doesn't take a Glassboro outsider to come in and solve this thing. It really never did. The solution can be had, and it exists within. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I just address that briefly?
Yes.
Mr. Cancel, are you junior? Mr. Cancel Jr.?
Steve.
Okay, Steve. Understand the police are not going to be the ones left to deal with this on their own. That's why we have the Public Safety Committee. This is going to be, like I said, dealt with by not only our police officers, which are taxed to the brim, but the ideas that the Chief of Police of Glassboro have been tried and tested and worked. So they're worth looking into and seeing if it's a good fit. When you say that people don't understand how insidious this problem is, I can tell you I lost my 21-year-old cousin to heroin overdose in Brick Estates in my own town. So I do understand. So if I seem passionate about it, it's because I do know what it means. I do know what happened. I can tell you that it affects the families all over Brick. And when I speak to people about the drug problem that we have, our chief is going after the dealers. They can't report to you how many investigations they have going on because it would compromise their investigations. But this is happening. So don't think that people don't recognize the problem. I share with everyone my story of my cousin. We sent her to 4 different rehabs, paid for the best places, and still the drugs took her. So I understand what you're saying. We need to focus on being a team and dealing with this as a team, not leaving the police just to do it, but really working together as a town and saying we won't tolerate this anymore. And that is what's going to happen. It's what's going to take to get rid of this monster.
Sir in the blue flag.
Good evening, Council. Brian Davis. Just want to thank you for my time. Quick comment here. Less than 2 years ago, my house was broken into. I live 2 blocks away from Maple Leaf. Over the night. I'd like to thank the police worked tirelessly. They solved the cases. Detectives were nonstop on top of it. I was home at night with my excuse me, my wife, 3-year-old and 2-year-old, and they came in my house during the night. I felt violated. I understand you say it takes a long time, but listen, you said 2009 to start, it's now 2014. Something needs to get done. There was 5 houses that night that got broken into. Now, it could have been anybody here home with their kids that night, and it could have ended worse. Something needs to get done, and that's coming right from the heart. Thank you for the time.
You're absolutely right, but we haven't been on council since 2009. I just wanted to
That's why I
address.
said I appreciate your time. This needs to get addressed
You're
quickly.
absolutely right.
I understand things take long term, but it needs to get done now.
But it gets done
before
in
it gets
steps,
worse.
so not everything is going to take forever and a day, but it does need to be done in steps.
I understand
And I
that. I
think
co- I
that the
commend
drug
the
dealers
Brick
are
Police need to-
very aware of what we're doing right now. They're very aware of what our town is doing. So that alone, if we put the fear of God in them, that's going to curtail some of it right away. When we come together as a town and
That's fine.
put it as we are not tolerating this anymore, that's when these people are going to scatter.
And nothing against Maple Leaf. There's hardworking people and good people, but the people that broke into my house were from Maple Leaf, and that's where it came from. Okay? And thank you.
Thank
Police
you.
did an excellent job. I got my stuff back. I originally lost all the kids from my kid's birth, all my laptop and cell phone. They took everything. Luckily, I was able to get it back with Brick Detectives and retrieve 2,400 photos.
It's a credit to our police.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the microphone that hasn't been up yet that would like to come up? Okay, Nan, would you like to come up a second time?
Yes, Nan Call again, and I want to address the subject that is being discussed. When you say that Brick was the safest town or city, that's a misunderstanding of what that evaluation really is. And I give our chief, always have, and our police force all the kudos in the world. But the measurement of what's the safest town is that they solve the crimes. You have to catch the person. There has to be a documented crime committed. For most of these drug situations, nobody actually can identify and catch and prove and bring it to court, no matter what you do. And the police aren't able to find out who is committing it. And I believe that gentleman that was just up here indicated that they did identify it and solve it. And you might be interested to know that at the same time that Brick was rated the safest city, I come from one of the 5 counties, sometimes called boroughs, of New York City. I don't think anybody would say that those are the safest places in the world or the country, and yet they were rated the safest town or city in their size at the same time, for the reason that the police solved the crimes that they actually had reports on. So the solve rate is good. But this problem of the drugs does hit everybody. I applaud you for telling your story. I've seen relatives of mine that have succumbed. See some that got help, and really, I give them credit. But it's a terrible, terrible situation. I came from Brooklyn, and the area was a nice area. But 2 doors away from me was the horror house. There were bloods, I think they were bloods based upon the colors. The people that lived in the house, nobody ever really knew. There was a rumor it was a police person or a woman. The bloods came from a nearby project and would come and hang out there. They destroyed the house. I was at that time, and I didn't realize how active I was until long after somebody asked me. I used to go to the Civic Association meetings, and this was always a problem, and I spoke up about it and talked to the community policing unit that would come there all of the time and tried to advocate how they could catch them. But they were a little bit smarter. They're very shrewd on how they do things, and when they know they're being watched, they disappear. There was crime, stolen cars. I had one stolen. So this is a big problem and usually involves possibly undercover work, and it is appropriate that the chief or anybody involved or knowledgeable not discuss exactly what's being done. And it's not going to happen in a week or a month, maybe not in a year, but I do believe that under our chief of police, they're working on it, and they will do everything. And I applaud you also for the Glassboro police chief, because it's all these people saying ideas and somebody that's really involved in law enforcement coming in with great ideas that is going to help us come to the resolution of how to handle this. There may be other means. And once again, happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Cancel, did you want to come up again?
Thank you for listening. I'm sorry for my intensity. I'm an intense man, and I'm actually more angry than I'm afraid. I moved into my condo in 2002 with my 2 sons. And after a divorce, which I didn't want, making about $17 an hour, trying to raise 2 boys, I had no idea what I'm doing. The people next door to me in unit 304B, the guy owns 18 units, had three kids in there. That is where my son got introduced to cocaine. His problems culminated with drug use. That's not saying they started with drug use, they culminated. I don't know, you may know, I don't know if you know what it's like to try and give your son a chance and to see him strung out, and then he's in your house and you know you shouldn't do it, but all of a sudden he gets the itch and the urge, and you're watching him and you say, Phil, don't go. And he gets up like a zombie and goes across the street to unit 326B, a Mrs. B, they called her, who had been there for years and years, a real middle woman involved in drugs. Unseemly things going on there for a very long time. These kids, a very long time. The recent drug bust. I sat in that man's unit when I was going around on a petition. He called me in, and how's it going? I sat in that man's unit, and I guess he was spying me out in case I was some kind of threat or something. I had no idea, but it's a long time. So forgive me. The broken windows thing you're trying to bring in is, it's the concept you're talking about is broken windows. It may be a tailored version, a modified version to what we need, according to our priorities in our community, but it's broken windows. Giuliani cleaned up New York with it. We used to go to New York City in the 70s, remember the hookers on 42nd Street? Well, they're no longer there. Why? How did they clean up the city? That's what we have to do. But we have to find it for our needs. That's the deal. That's what that man was saying. You heard him when I even said it. Listen to what I found. Civil remedies can strike at the direct supports to crime, can enlist third-party monitoring, target indirect supports of crime. Who are the indirect supports of this crime? Who are they? They're the remedies. They're the rental. They're the indirect supports of these crimes that must be targeted. Expand punishment meted out to evildoers. Supreme Court of Michigan, Rental Properties Owners Association of Kent County versus City of Grand Rapids. A facial constitutional challenge to a nuisance abatement ordinance, padlock ordinance, adopted by the Grand Rapids City Commission. That's like a council like you that formed the commission. The ordinance authorized the commission to declare a property a public nuisance if it found to be used repeatedly for illegal drugs or prostitution. Further, properties declared to be a public nuisance may be padlocked for up to 1 year, and the owner assessed the cost of abasement. Supreme Court reversed the Court of Appeals and said it's okay. Notice I want you to notice something. This town did something. I know you say you're doing something. I know you are. I believe you're sincere. But don't be afraid to take a shot. Don't be afraid to tinker. Don't be afraid to go after these direct supports. Because that's the only way you're going to change the culture. You're not going to come in here and there's got to be something knocked down. There's got to be something ripped up before you're going to change this culture. Because you've got to draw the people out. You've got to draw them out of their home. The fear is engendered now. Some of you will know this. In Casa Clara Condo Associations versus Charlie Tapinos and Son. The basic function of tort law is to shift the burden of loss from the injured party to one who is at fault. The goal in tort is to protect society's interest in being free from harm. Who do you think's at fault? It's not just the drug dealers. It's Maple Leaf Park Board. You have the power to declare, to bring them to court and force a forced abatement. They force them into certain abatement procedures. You can force them. There's precedent. Now I understand Trenton tried it, and it was knocked down because it interfered with the eviction laws. But understand what we can do. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Mr. Cantel, you mentioned something personal that went with your son. At the time that he was going to, you mentioned even the apartment, the number, you gave the number and the woman. Did you notify the police at that time that your son was purchasing drugs, or you knew that drugs were
I need
being?
you to come back to the microphone. No,
Yeah.
one at a time,
One-
please.
oh, okay.
Go ahead, Steve. You take it.
I only can speak from 2000 and, well, let's put it this way. I was in high school at Brick Memorial. I graduated in 2004. She was there. Her name is Lavinia something.
I'm sorry, please don't mention specific names if we're
okay.
openly accusing people of being drug dealers.
All right. Sorry. But her drug dealing name, can I say that? Her drug dealing
No.
alias?
No.
But she was there when I was in high school. When I was 4 years in the Marines. I got out. She was still there. She, my brother, to answer your question, no, I can't. I've never called the police on my brother. I can't bring myself to do it. My dad has never called the police on my brother. We did try 2 different rehabs.
I wasn't asking on your brother. I was asking on the
on the
particular person that was selling the
No,
drugs to your brother.
no, we did not.
See, this is where the community has to come together too. If you want us to stop this, that's important information that the police need to have. So that's something that the community, if somebody's buying drugs, that's helpful information. You can see what I'm trying to.
You're absolutely right. The only thing is that I think the board, the Maple Leaf board, has got, these landlords have got to know. You know what I mean? It's the police. You can't be everywhere at once, and the problem is that even when the police have come, as my dad said, 2 SWAT busts in the last month, the drugs are still being dealt, even with the cops coming in. And this woman owned it was a crack house where people would come and they'd get rides, and my brother told me there'd be women would come, or men, whatever, with kids, and the kids would go in the back room while the parent got high in the living room. And this was going on for over 6 years.
And that's because nobody stepped up to the plate and alerted the police that this was going on. Because I'm sure investigations could have gone on in that period of time, and that person would have been stopped. This is what I'm trying to say. If you want us as the council, we want to help you, but we're going to need help from the community too. I mean, obviously, if people know of people dealing drugs, they should alert the police to give
Well,
tips.
Sir, to be fair, I don't know where you park your car at night, but I know where I park my car at night. And if I call the police, I have to fear retaliation. I have to fear slashed tires, broken windshield. I'm just.
Right,
keeping it
no, I
real.
know what you're saying with that. Well, there's
I think-
anonymous calls when the calls come in are anonymous, so that they're not going to know whose calls.
Well, we have the 411 tips that's online
Right, but I've
that
had
you can anonymously report.
Well, I've had neighbors anonymously call DIFUS on the unit above where the problem was happening, and they knew it was them. And that's why they were suffering so long with the deviancy and the keying of the cars and throwing piss off the balconies, urine off the balcony. And that's, it's more, you know what I mean? It's the culture you're talking about changing is a retaliatory culture. They'll key a car, they'll slash a tire. A car was ignited on fire in Millbrook Manor, which is the adjacent community, because of drug, this was a couple years ago. But that kind of thing, I would love to. And like I said, if I was a police officer, I'd have to be held back. I'd probably get fired because I'd probably go overboard trying to get rid of this thing. And, but it's the retaliation. It's that you got to come home and see the same people. You've got to face this thing. You know what I mean? Every day, I got to go home to it. And I'm not scared of it. But I don't want to be the next George Zimmerman. I don't. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm saying.
Are you finished with your statement?
I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you for coming back. The woman in the purple shirt, please.
Hello, my name's Tara McNamara. I've lived in Brick my entire life. I've lived across from Maple Leaf Park over off of Winding River. When I was growing up, it was a problem then. I'm like shocked to hear that nobody like really knew about it until 2009. Like as a kid, I wasn't allowed in there because it was a bad area. I then, as a young adult, lived in Greenwood. My husband and I decided we got to get out of here and start to creep over here now. So we got out of there, we moved further down the street, and now we live on the state streets and we have a home there. We started having children. We wanted to go to the park. The park got burnt down. Woody Trail's a disaster area. I mean, I hear that it's getting done someday, but it's like, I don't even want to live in my hometown that I've lived in my whole life because it's getting bad. It's not the safest community like when I graduated high school here. It's not a proud place to live. Like, oh, you live over there? Aren't you a little worried about maybe creeping up your area? Aren't you worried about getting robbed? Like, it is a problem, and I know you guys are trying to do something, but what are we as a community? That's what I want to know. What can we do to help? All the people that live around it that have been here, living here our whole lives, like, what can we do to help to, and I can't believe you don't call the cops when you see that, you know,
That's
that
part
there's
of, that's
drug
part
deals
of
going
helping.
on. Like, there's got to be an anonymous way. You said there's a 411 thing you can write, like,
I believe it's 411 tips.
411 tips, like, on the
Online.
internet. Like, what can we do as a community to help?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
the main number, it's anonymous.
You know, because it's like, it's starting to creep out of there. Like, it's always been a problem in there as long as I've lived here my entire life. It's always been a problem in there, so I don't know how, like, 2009 was like, 'cause even when I was moving over into Greenwood, we have our first, like, condo there. Everybody's like, oh, there's gangs in Maple Leaf. Like, you know, it's been a problem as long as I can ever remember, but now it's starting to creep out. So, I mean, burning down the park, and then, all right, so now we're gonna rebuild the park, we're gonna spend all of our tax dollar monies in rebuilding the park. How are we keeping that park safe? Are you gonna pop a cop sitting there 24/7, you gonna put a fence around it? Like, what are we gonna do? Like, I'm just making a statement because it is obviously a problem. And I would like to know what we can, as a community, do to, like, make our town prouder and the safest community again.
There's going to be some things that we're going to involve the community with, including a park watch, to help keep our parks. Once we fix them, we're not going to have the money to fix them again if they get burned down, so we want to protect that. But as we come up with our goals and plans, we're going to be involving our people, our citizens more and more.
How are you gonna, like, communicate with the people? Are you gonna do it via Facebook? Like, let people know that this is going on and everybody has to stand up and, like, help
If
each other
you-
out
if-
to make this problem go away.
If you notice, there's been a big boost in the technology that Brick is using. We have our regular website, we also have Twitter, we also have Facebook. So that's the ways that we would keep you apprised, or from watching the council meetings. If you can't attend, you can watch them on the computer as well. So that's how you're going to be dispensed that information. So we've expanded a lot of technological areas so that it is more transparent for the public to know what we're doing and what we need help with. But thank you for your offer of help, and I'll take you up on it.
Thank you.
Mr. Cancel?
I think wisdom would have wanted to ask first to see if the police knew about that particular unit, rather than assume they didn't know. It seems like, when you say, did you call, good chance the police already knew about it, for whatever reason.
You don't know that. That's why you make the call.
I think that she was pretty renowned. There was a lot of traffic, and they
I'm
did
sure
a
if
lot
our
of
police
undercover
knew, they
on
would
that
have
street.
moved in and did what they needed.
But I want to say this, 2 doors down from me lives a Lakewood police officer, and I went up to him. When I was doing my survey in the community, or my petition, I said, well, how come you're a police officer, aren't you? This is Unit 310 or 312. He goes, yeah, I'm a Lakewood police officer. Why you let this happen? Well, it was a little, I said, would you testify in court if you have? Yeah, I will. Never heard a word. If I was a police officer, and I lived there, my mother lived there, or any of my relatives, I'm coming up in uniform. And I'm gonna jostle some people, flat out. Constitutional. There was an Asbury police officer, Asbury Police Department officer, lived a few doors down. White Jeep, lived there about 6 months a year. Police would come on that block, and this is when they were really coming, 4 times. 4 cars, 3 times a day. Never saw that guy poke his head out once. So, sir, you know, there's a culture now, whatever it is, that's obscuring what is right. It's like Job said, can there be any healing without a love of what is right? When we start to lose the love of what is right, we're not going to get a healing. We're not going to get a healing in that community. There's got to be people with a love of what is right.
Well, assuming somebody knows something also doesn't help the matter. Like you said, you believe that the police may have known and should have known.
I wish
You don't
would
know
ask
that.
Chief
It should have been
first.
alerted. A phone call could be made. Anonymous phone call could be made. And that's where we're going to need the help
These people are not
from
stupid.
people.
They will figure out. You will.
I don't know how
agree
to-
with Mr. Cantel. If you don't live there, you don't know what really goes on there. I live close to there. I live on Rhode Island Avenue, and I know a lot that goes on in
They're
that
not
area.
stupid. They're not.
And Steve's right. You will get retaliation. You'll get it on your car, or something will happen to you, because that's the way it works.
The hell are we
Not-
gonna-
you know,
If
we
the-
live,
if-
we live in a community, they're right there. The guy across the street's the guy doing it. You know, people see this happening. Your management stinks, that's your problem. You need to take over the bylaws there.
That's why I'm asking for.
That's
your
what
help.
you need.
Because at the end of all this. at the
Because
end
right
of
now, what's going on right now is, you need to step up and change your bylaws, and you people that live there need to
Take
get
control.
on that association and make up your own rules, and make up the right rules,
There's an
and
abandoned
enforce
school,
them.
No voting. We can't get in. We can't do it.
That's what you need to do.
That's what I need your help, because ultimately I'm gonna ask you to run up the numbers on the revenue you've lost, and I need the police help. And I get this, we can bring this thing to court unless you do it for me. Unless we join as a community.
Need to change, you need a property manager needs to step up and
give a
enforce your
recommendation to a
bylaws.
judge about this.
You gotta enforce your bylaws. That's why you have a property manager. My daughter's a property manager. You enforce your bylaws. If your bylaws say that this person's a nuisance, and your bylaws say that they have so many reports against them, that they can be removed, then you do it. You have an attorney.
But sir, this is why
That's
I'm
what you gotta
saying,
do.
I need your pressure to bear on that.
You gotta,
They've been a new public nuisance in this town.
I'm not saying, I'm saying the management. You have to get in there on the board.
Where I live has been a public nuisance.
We have to get on the board.
Let me just say this, in fairness. The police have gone through there, and it's a Title 39, the lands are turned over for their observance
can
and
come in.
patrolling.
Article
And
39.
they go through, and I love it. They check the registration of cars and they tow them out. Anybody who's done, I love it. And you know what? It's happened to me. My son said, Dad, can you get over there? I forgot to register my car. I hurried down there. There the car was on, towed away. And I followed it, and I got a ticket for following him. But you want to know something? I'm happy with that. I'm happy. I'm happy when the police do anything. My neighbor whose son was arrested, he came into my condo a few weeks ago. We were working on it. My neighbor, and he goes, Jimmy, the police came in. They threw my daughter in a room. They arrested my son. I said, Milton, don't make yourself a victim here. I said, my son's an addict. We have to man up for where we didn't take the oversight in our households. Let's man up on that. But Milton, don't make yourself out to be a victim. I said, the police were right. Your son dealing, and he took it. So, but honestly, this is the Christianity of this whole thing is, what you do to the least of these, you do to me. And that's what I'm asking the council to help a hapless.
I just told you how to do it. You got to take over the management. You leave the manager there and enforce your rules
We
as
need your
as that.
recommendations. We need
Do
your
you have them? You
affidavit.
have a set of rules already. Enforce them. You have rules, right?
I'll talk to you. I'm sorry.
All right.
But thank you very much.
I know you have the rules. You got to enforce that stuff.
Is anyone else? Yes, Ms. Briggs.
Melanie Briggs. This is just a quick question. I guess the last meeting was over 2.5 weeks ago. The gentlemen that were the association and the management and whatever said those cameras would be working in 2 weeks. Are they working? Has anybody heard?
Not to my knowledge.
I did reach out, and I haven't gotten a return call.
That's where,
I don't believe he said 2 weeks either. I
no, he
think it
said,
was a
believe
longer
me, I
time
watched the
frame.
meeting 6 times. I know he said 2 weeks. First, he didn't say they were broken. We have all these cameras, we have this, we have that. And then he finally was brought to task and had to admit they were broken for 3.5 months. He said they'll be fixed in 2 weeks. I know the town has a responsibility. I live in that area. But the management and the association, they're the ones that are taking the money from when the man said they put $300,000 into roofs and sidewalks, well, why did it take them years to put roofs and sidewalks in? That's what they're supposed to be doing. And we're gonna have to accept the responsibility because they're walking away with their pockets full of money? Go after them. Then you get the tenants that don't belong in there out. But go after the management and the association that are just laughing at us.
Thank you. Any other public comments this evening? Seeing none, I'm closing public comments and moving on to administration comments.
I have no report, thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing for me, thank you, Councilor.
Thank you. Ladies?
Nothing, thank you.
Councilman Moore?
Yes, I'm sorry. First of all, thank you. We know I'm on that safety committee over there, and I know what's going on over there. Like Vice President Fosman says, we gotta start with your association. Can we get a copy of the bylaws?
Councilman Moore, I have a set. I have a set.
Do you? Okay.
Yes.
That takes care of that one. Just want to congratulate Andrea on her election. Congratulations. And just wrapping up, tomorrow's Veterans Day. I know we have a veteran, Steve, in the audience. But to all our veterans out there, thank you. Just, you don't have to, just because it's Veterans Day, you don't have to thank a veteran just because it's Veterans Day. You should be always thanking a veteran out there, no matter where you are, what time of the season it is. Go up to them, shake their hands, buy them a cup of coffee. It goes a long way. I do it all the time, and it means a lot to me. So with that being said, please drive carefully, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Heather?
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out this evening, and I want to thank everybody for your passion and your the thought about our communities. We do know the issues. We, like Councilwoman Ponterero said, we are working on them, absolutely, 100%. And you will see stuff from us shortly. It just, of course, everything takes a little bit of time. I'd like to congratulate Councilwoman Andrea Zapsik on a very well-deserved victory. There's no one up here that knows more about our parks and recreation, and no one more passionate about BMAC and cares about our children and their upbringing. And truly, you make all of us up here much better council people, knowing all of that. So thank you for working so hard on a well-deserved victory. As Councilman Moore said, tomorrow is Veterans Day, and as someone who works for a veterans nonprofit that helps our veterans once they return from service, I do want to wish all of our veterans a very happy Veterans Day, and thank you and your families for all your sacrifice for our township and state and country and everything that you all do. So happy Veterans Day. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. I too would like to wish all our veterans a happy Veterans Day and to thank them for their service. My dad was a Korean War veteran, and then I have a nephew who's active duty right now and another one who's in West Point. So I really thank veterans and all active duty members for their service. A couple upcoming events. The Guild Theater Works, last weekend they opened their show Romantic Comedy at the Bob Anstatt Cultural Arts Center. There are 3 more performances this Friday night and Saturday night at 7 p.m. and Sunday at 2 p.m. You need to call for reservations because the seating is very limited. Call the Recreation Department. They will put you on the reservation list. And then Saturday, November 15th from noon to 5 p.m. at the River Rock, there is a fundraiser for the family of Liam Marino. He's an 8-year-old boy who has brain cancer, and actually he's doing quite well. I understand, I talked with his aunt yesterday. He's finished his treatment and their prognosis is very good. But they are raising money for his family to help with medical expenses. It's $25 per adult, $10 per children, and tickets are available at the door. And I would like to just thank everyone for your kind comments and congratulations. I appreciate it. I was unsure whether or not I was going to tell this story, but Ms. Call, your remarks made me change my mind about it. Several years ago, when my mom was still alive and living in her own home, I came to visit her one day on a Saturday, and she was in a dither. And I said, Mom, what's the matter? And she said, this is what's the matter, this. And she's got her phone bill clutched in her hand. She said, every one of my neighbors got their property tax rebate except for me. It's been weeks and weeks, and I've been calling Trenton every day, and all I've got now is $22 worth of toll calls on my phone bill, and I still don't have my property tax rebate. So I said to her, well, Mom, who's your state senator? And she told me, and I don't remember who it was, this was several years ago, and I said, well, this is what I want you to do. I'm going to look up the number for his legislative office, and on Monday you're going to call him and tell him what you've told me, and he's going to help you. And she said, I couldn't possibly do that. And I said, why not? And she said, because I didn't vote for him. So I said to her then what I found myself saying throughout the campaign, and which I will say again. I said, first of all, Mom, he doesn't know that. And second of all, he works for you whether you voted for him or not. So I would just like to go on the record of saying that. I appreciate everyone who put me here, but I work for all of Brick Township. And if you have a problem, if there's something I can help with, I want to hear from you. I don't care what the letter is after your last name. It doesn't matter. I work for all of Brick Township, and I think I would go out on a limb and say that everyone sitting up here feels the same way. That's what we're here for. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
Thank you. Thank everyone for coming out. First, I'd like to congratulate Andrea. It's been a pleasure working with you the last 10 months and look forward to working with you. She's a great asset for the town. Also with the Alzheimer's Association of New Jersey, it's a terrible disease. I had an aunt with it. Hopefully someday they'll come up with a cure for it. Thanks to all our veterans out there. Appreciate all your hard work and keeping us safe all these years. Also, good luck to both high school football teams, the Dragons and Mustangs, on their upcoming playoffs. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank the people of Brick for giving us Andrea for another term. Her insights and her experience you can't buy, you can't create. They're earned through time. And I am so appreciative to sit on the same council with someone with 18 years' experience, because she truly is an asset to our team and to helping the people of Brick make Brick better. So thank you, voters. And even those who didn't vote for Andrea, I want to thank you too for using your right to vote, because that's what keeps America going. I want to thank Debbie Warburton and also Deb Welty regarding the Alzheimer's month. This is a very, very horrific disease. There is a National Memory Screening Day through the Alzheimer's Foundation of America on November the 18th. And it is hosted by the Center for Healthy Aging at Monmouth Medical Center, Southern Campus. And it's at 500 River Drive, Suite 200 in Lakewood, New Jersey, 08701, between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. And to register or call, you dial 1-888-724-7123. So I would urge anyone who has a concern about themselves or a loved one suffering from this debilitating illness to please take advantage of this free screening. I also wanted to bring to everyone's attention that I am the liaison for the Board of Education. They did promise us they would do more to expand senior technology services, and I have received confirmation that the Brick Township High School Computer Club has scheduled its first senior citizen computer workshop of the year. It's scheduled for Thursday, November 20th, from 3 o'clock to 4:30 at the Brick Township High School Library. So that's November 20th, 3 o'clock to 4:30 in the Brick Township High School Library. I also want to thank the TNR Committee, the Trap Neuter Release Committee. I had the opportunity to attend it was a fundraising event, and it occurred at the Scone Shop, which is one of our newest businesses in Brick. It's on Route 88 in Laurelton Plaza. They had fantastic scones there and baked goods, and the people who run it's a family-run business, which I as a family-run business owner really appreciate. It's a mother, a daughter, and a grandmother who run that shop, and it is just phenomenal. I would invite everyone to take a little swing by there and enjoy some of their scones, and they did do a lot to help us raise money for the TNR committee. I want to remind everyone, we're looking for members to fill several committees that are going to be starting in January. The first is the Senior Action Committee. Please send your name, your address, your contact information to Mayor Ducey and tell him you want to be on the Senior Action Committee. If you are in high school, we're going to be starting the Youth Advisory Committee. Again, please give us your name, your phone number, and let us know that you want to be a part of that committee. We want to hear from our youth. There's no better way to get to the bottom of the drug problem than to come face to face with our youth and offer them other meaningful alternatives and other things that they can do in a productive way. And for the Disabled Persons of Brick Committee, we still are looking for more people. Again, give us your name, your address, and phone number. I appreciate the information that was given tonight regarding the ramps. And this is one of the reasons why we need this type of committee in Brick, so that we could be advised of the problems and hopefully help fix them. But it makes me really, really happy. And if everyone could turn in their lights over to Lynette, because Deb Welty recycles and reuses for all of her events. They run on donations. And so I just wanted to remind you to turn them into her, because I know Debbie will be using them for some other event coming up. And apart from that, I just wanted to say that I appreciate all of our citizens who come out and sit through these meetings, and I appreciate everyone who watches it on television and keeps themselves abreast of what is going on in our community. To echo the words of Ms. Zapsik, it's not about being a D or an R, it's about being a Brick resident. And whatever we need to do to make life better, easier, or just better for the future, we're all willing to put in that time and effort. So feel free to call upon us whenever you need help, and we'll be there. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. And thank you to our veterans. And my sign at my law firm says, "Thank you, veterans." I can't thank enough all the men and women who have serviced us throughout the years. They'll all get big hugs from me if they want to take a picture with my sign. I get people every year to take a picture with it. So you're welcome to come and see me at my law office. I'll take a picture with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to thank Andrea for her success in her election, and welcome back. I'm glad you're here, doing a great job. To the veterans, tomorrow, they're having a ceremony here tomorrow for the veterans. Everybody thank a vet. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about Maple Leaf. The association there, the association has a lot of power. If you live there and you own a place there, you should be involved in that association, get on the board, and they have bylaws there for different events that happen. You gotta follow those bylaws, and if not, you can vote and change those bylaws to fit whatever's needed in that area. All you need is the people to get aboard. And retaliation, like gentleman said, you get retaliated against, you do. I could tell you a little story here. When I'm a commissioner on the MUA, we were downsizing the workforce there. I get a phone call 5 days before we're voting, warning me not to vote for these people, take them off. That night I voted, and I removed those people. We lowered our workforce. I got home 10:30 that night. 3 of my tires were slashed on my driveway. The only reason I know that because I got home 10:30 and had to go back at 11:30, and all 3 tires on my cars were slashed. And I reported it and everything like that. But I'm saying there is retaliation out there, so people do that. It's not that this is not thinking it's all up here. You get everybody's out to get you sometime. So in Maple Leaf, I believe that'll happen. If they see people wanting to change and they're going to disrupt their drug dealing or whatever, people are going to retaliate against these people. They're going to scratch their car, do whatever they have to do just to get them to stop doing what they're going to do to help get the better place. I believe that could happen. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. As Council Vice President mentioned, we do have a Veterans Memorial Ceremony here tomorrow at 11 o'clock. So if you can come out and attend and support our veterans, we would greatly appreciate that. I do want to thank Lynette on a very successful election. Everyone forgot about Lynette. Without her, we wouldn't have an election.
It's true.
I love walking into our council office and just seeing all those red bags lined up. We know that work is getting done. It gets done all the time. I meant work for the entire township. I know that sounded offensive. I'm sorry. Me and a fellow other council members attended the PAL dinner the other night, and they honored and gave awards to a few of their members that go above and beyond for outstanding duty. And there was a woman in the back that asked how she could get involved in her community. What can she do? We have multiple programs in the township, like the Police Athletic League, like BMAC, like just picking up the phone and calling when you see something that's not right and letting police know. I understand there's retaliation, and I'm sure I would be very concerned if I lived in any of these neighborhoods that had this issue as well. And I'm sure it's in every neighborhood. We just see it more so in some neighborhoods than others. Those are the things that you can do. You can become involved in the community programs and active in the children's lives in our communities and letting them know that there's other options besides, drugs. There's after-school programs, there's after-school jobs, there's internships that are becoming available through Councilwoman Pontorero. There's multiple avenues where we can create change besides just the police department as mentioned earlier. And I look forward to participating in all of those avenues. And lastly, I do want to congratulate Andrea, Councilwoman Zapsik. I didn't know her very well when she first came to this council, but every meeting I attend with her, every conversation I have with her about our township, I learn something new. Even though I've been here for a few years, she teaches me something new. There's programs that she knows about, there's policies that she knows about, and her expertise in these issues involving our children, involving our Parks and Recs program are very valuable to our township, and she does bring 18 years of experience that no one else here has. So thank you, and I look forward to working with you until the next election, where we get to do it all over again. Our next council meeting is held on a Tuesday, November 25th at 7 o'clock, and I look forward to seeing everyone there. Motion to close the meeting?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.